podcast is all about IPMAT, IPM program and also about the IPMAT exam preparation strategy for 2025.
So the IPM program, the brainchild of IIM Indore.
The number of applicants has been increasing year on year.
I think it was started around the year 2011.
Yes. So what is your take on preparation strategy for students preparing for IPMAT 2025?
There are three exams: IPMAT Indore, IPMAT Rohtak, and IPMAT.
Pick up last 3 to 4 years IPMAT Indore papers or IPMAT Rohtak papers. Last year cutoff is the side target for because anything can happen. When I do any RC, if I'm getting all the 4 questions answers, I immediately jump to next one.
Yeah, that's where you start. You get it right. It could be fluke, it could be luck, it could be anything.
I think it's a combination of Hello Anish.
Hi sir.
Yeah. So I think this podcast is all about IPMAT, IPM program and also about the IPMAT exam preparation strategy for 2025. So we will start with understanding what is this program. So could you just give an idea about what is this IPM program?
So the IPM program, the brainchild of IIM Indore. I think it was started around the year 2011.
Yes.
Fundamentally, what it talks about is how do you build a 360-degree holistic kind of a personality in the students with a focus on making leaders in the field of business.
Correct.
So, of course, they're making managers. And how they intend on making that is by integrating multiple streams of thought and education into the program in the first 3 years. And that is followed by the 2 years MBA. And the first 3 years is primarily a lot of focus on mathematics and statistics, along with humanities, social sciences, philosophy, plus also skills wherein you're invested in learning extempore or public speaking and things like that. Basically, it's a mix of everything.
Right. I think it's a combination of 3 circles. Right. In the first one is it's basically a business management things are covered. The second, they also covered on art subjects like psychology and economics, all these things. The third, they also has focusing more on building, giving a technological subjects, hard skills for students. I think it's like an interdisciplinary program. Right. So the number of applicants has been increasing year on year. When we see the numbers from the last 2 to 3 years, it started something, with 10,000, 12,000 students. Now, approximately almost last year, 40,000 members have applied for this exam.
Right.
Probably going forward, the number of IIMs also increasing, offering this program, right? So what is your take on preparation strategy for students preparing for IPMAT 2025?
At this moment, we don't have a lot of time. So the first thing is there are 3 exams: IPMAT Indore, IPMAT Rohtak, and IPMAT. If we look at which exam should one focus on, the ideal condition is which exam gives you pathway into many colleges, more than one college, and that is basically IPMAT Indore. Indore opens up doors to not just Indore, but also Ranchi,
Amritsar is also accepted.
Sirmaur. All of these are IIT Kakinada. All of these are accepting Indore. Yeah. So focus should be on Indore. Now, what is the difference between IPMAT Indore, Rohtak, and IPMAT?
Yes.
In Indore, the focus is about 50% is on quantitative aptitude versus another 50% on verbal ability. But you'll at least find one data interpretation set in the quantitative aptitude section. Yes. So if you're focusing on IPMAT Indore for the next 1 point something months, your focus should primarily be on acing these 2.
Yes.
And if you ace these 2, you're, for all practical reasons, also preparing for IPMAT and IPMAT Rohtak.
Yeah.
So what is the strategy going to be? The strategy is going to be figure out, we can share this, but then figure out what have been the high weighted subjects, topics in each of these subjects. Look at how you can build the fundamentals for this. Start with fundamentals and then push towards acing all of the top weighted topics. These exams are taken, but then what about the cutoffs?
Before we go for cutoffs, let's define what is cutoff, because I see students, they prepare for this exam based on last year cutoff is this, I target for this number. But the problem or the challenge with cutoffs is, if you look at IIM Rohtak or IPMAT Rohtak or IPMAT Indore cutoffs. So let's take trends from the last 2 years. If you remember when Lashwin was writing this exam in 2023,
400 something.
the cutoff was 409, and it's a deep inclination. And last year the cutoff was 301, I think, right? So probably the two factors are playing a role here. The one is level of difficulty of the paper. Second is competency of students. What kind of people are actually writing this exam? What is their ability, right? So the cutoff defines these two things. But in literal sense, when we see what is cutoff, the one who is going to IIM Indore program as the last seat, who is actually taking the last seat, how many marks he got, that is the cutoff. So means I don't want to be entered into IIM Indore or IIM Rohtak as the last person, because it's too risky. So when it comes about the cutoff, you can take it as for the reference, but don't consider that the cutoffs will actually change in the game. It's always good to focus 20 to 30% more than what is the actual cutoff of the last year.
Correct.
And second thing, we should take a call in the exam center whether the paper is easy or difficult or moderate. Based on that, you should attempt the paper. And never think that, okay, last year cutoff for IIM Indore, IPMAT Indore was 189, let me attempt for 189 is a bad thing. Because if the paper is very difficult, if you're not able to answer more, you feel very, depressive in the exam hall.
True.
Right? It's all about playing the game by understanding the game rules, by understanding who are actually playing in the game.
True.
And who are your competitors.
True.
So the question is your competitor, right?
True.
So it's good to give an idea, take call after getting into the exam center. So at this moment, my recommendation is it's good to have at least a 30 to 40% one. I said 20 to 30, at least 30 to 40. Let's talk about IPMAT Indore. 189 was the cutoff last year. So let's consider as 180, and I'll keep another 30%, 57. So 190 plus 57, almost you can aspire for 247 to 250. If you're aspiring for 247 to 250, you're on the safe side. And provided you're doing a good in interview. We know students who are doing pretty well in the exam, but they did not do very well in interview.
True.
So my recommendation for students is to have at least 30% more than what was the previous year cutoff. So let's focus for Indore as a 250. Even for Rohtak, last year cutoff was 301. I say, if the similar paper is there, if you're writing the mock exams, try to aspire at least 350, 380 marks.
But that's also like on very shaky grounds. So if a paper is difficult, it's okay to an extent. I mean, that's the point, right? If I go in with a set number, that this is the number that I should achieve, if my strategy itself is like that, you go there and you realize, you're not able to reach there. Like you said, the student will be dejected,
Yes.
and their approach to the exam will, be on shaky grounds again. But at the same time, if it is easy and they still go with the same number,
absolutely,
that is also a problem.
Yeah.
So the point is, of course, take reference, like you're saying, take reference with last year's paper. Maybe add about 30%
absolutely
more.
You're right, because we can take reference of last year marks, but you don't consider that's a deadline for you, because anything can happen. So that's why when student is preparing for exam, it's great to focus on subject. It's also great to focus on strategy part. Strategy means analyzing the skimming the whole paper and understanding how many easy questions, how many difficult questions, how many moderate questions.
How would you suggest a person do that in quant?
For quantitative aptitude, I do suggest, let's pick up last 3 to 4 years IPMAT Indore papers or IPMAT Rohtak papers and do it yourself and look at how much you are getting and how do you take that paper.
With the timer.
With the timer. Let's say write like a mock exam. And how do you feel it? How much difficult you feel it? How much score you got? Because it gives a connection with the paper, with what level the paper is, what level you are. Is it matching with the regular cutoffs or not? Right? So this is the first part of the first thing we should do when we started our preparation for IPMAT Indore at Rohtak. The second thing is all about analyzing the whole paper when you go to exam hall. I see 90% of students who are writing IPMAT Indore, not just IPMAT exam, any exam in general, for any exam. Students are hurried to answer every question. They go to exam and they immediately look at the first question, they start answering it. But I do say it's good to have an idea about what is the overall paper level. Based on that, okay, when I compare with my regular mock exams, this paper looks a bit difficult. When I compare this with my before last year mock IPMAT exam,
Right.
this paper looks difficult. Means, okay, let me take a call. The paper is difficult, cutoffs can go down. This call we should take in the exam hall. But that is only possible when student is not just focusing on subject, is also writing mock exams, previous year IPMAT papers, and also analyzing how much he got and what is the real cutoff.
So what do you suggest? They give the mock, the previous year question paper as a mock
Absolutely.
now, or probably a couple of days before the exam?
I say, even if you are giving the mock today, that's fine. But if you are not good at basics, if you have not done anything yet preparation, it's not too good to give mock at this moment.
Correct.
It's good to give once you are done with the 75 to 80% of the syllabus and practice. Let's look at and let's keep 2-3 papers aside. Because that are original papers, right? Let's keep 2021, 2022 papers I'm not giving. Maybe 2024 paper I'm giving immediately to seal the level. So you save side few things and check it before you go for 10 days before the exam, and keep analyzing what was the cutoff for 2022, how much I got, because this really works.
Right.
Because this gives you ground level reality rather than thinking of I'll focus only on people are going with the blind mind sometimes. Even our students sometimes I can see before last year when we went to the exam center, they think about I need to write the exam very well. That's fine, but it's also be calm in the exam center and looking at what is the level of difficulty of this paper. And when compared with my mock exams, IPMAT mock exams that I have written and IPMAT original exams that I have written, yes, paper is easy. Okay, let me answer more. And paper is difficult. Yes, the cutoff will be. This confidence the student has to get. Otherwise, he feels dejected for 2 hours or 2.5 hours of the time because he doesn't know how the others are performing. He feels that paper is difficult. I am the only one not writing. This kind of FOMO comes, right? So that only can be eliminated with confidence. The confidence comes when you are doing the right kind of exercises.
Cool.
Yeah. So what is your take on verbal ability?
With verbal ability, again, if you look at the scores, VA has always been a higher scoring subject. So if I remember it right, 113 was the cutoff for IPMAT Indore last year. So 113 is a good score. I mean, and of course we're aspiring to get more than that.
Yes.
20-30% more than that is the ambition here again. And I would agree with the same strategy. So what are the question types that we're looking at in verbal ability, right? 25%, close to 25% over the past 4 to 5 years that we've looked at the question papers. Close to 25% is primarily based on reading comprehension. And another 20-25% is based on grammar, and everything else comes in the rest of the paper.
Right.
So a large chunk of your preparation has to go towards improving your comprehension. And by comprehension, I don't just mean reading comprehension, but I also talk about para-jumbles, para-completion, and para-summary kind of questions. Now, just doing this plus grammar is almost close to 75% of your paper, and another 10-15% is vocabulary. Now, putting these numbers aside, what exactly is it that you're doing for the next 1 month? Because quant is extensive, the syllabus is a lot, right? And because you'll have to give a lot of hours to quant, I say verbal ability as a subject or as a section has to be taken in little bite-sized preparation size. You can't take 2 hours at a time and then say I will only prepare for verbal ability for the next 2 hours, because that is not going to be feasible.
And one more exercise I really like you're doing here. Every day you are not just teaching reading comprehension in class, you're giving some time for
Yeah, grammar as well.
some time for vocabulary, some time for reading comprehension. Yeah, of course, if I just do reading comprehension every day, probably I may forget about the other things.
Absolutely. And it's not just about forgetting, right? Because comprehension happens organically.
Yes.
And for example, verbal ability, when I ask students to prepare for VA, it is not about solving as many questions as possible, because unlike quant, where you have to go through a discovery of models, and that happens probably through attempting a more number of questions along with the quality that is required. VA has very few kinds of models. You don't have too many models. So with reading comprehension, what are the two basic fundamental blocks? One is a descriptive question, two is an inferential question. And an inferential question, the focus is on, hey, what is the author saying? What do you think the author is feeling? Blah, 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 all of that. Now, here, your focus is more on understanding the passage. So, your focus or your preparation is to upskill.
Correct.
And become good with comprehending. Right. So your preparation is not about answering as many questions as possible. Yes, of course, you answer as many questions as possible, but also you focus on whether you're getting it right, and if you're getting it right, why is it that you're getting it right, and if you're getting it wrong, why is it that you're getting it wrong?
Yes,
that analysis is very important.
But so many students are not doing this. Let's say, even including me, when I was preparing for CAT, when I do any RC, if I'm getting all the 4 questions answers, I immediately jump to next
one. Yeah, that's where you stop. You get it right. It could be fluke. Yes. It could be luck. Yes. It could be anything.
I should analyze. I should go back and see why it is correct. Even if it is wrong, also I just check the answer. Okay, my question is wrong, but I'm not looking back and doing that analysis part. I mean, probably that could become a bottleneck for so many students not to go forward in the score.
I think I have one. If I were to underline on one thing and say what is it that you should do for VA, students, if you really are answering a question, whatever question type it is, even if it is grammar, if you solve probably 30 questions in about 15 to 20 minutes in grammar, I know you can answer them. I know you will get the answers, but then think about it. If you were to ask yourself the question, what reason or why is it this is the answer? And if you are left behind telling yourself that I feel that this is the correct answer, or this is the gut feeling that I have, that means you got to work on your fundamentals.
Feelings won't work. I think rationality works.
Absolutely. So in VA, the biggest challenge, if you're going by your feelings or your gut feeling, you will plateau. And your scores will not increase.
Yes.
But at the moment you start rationalizing and then finding reasons for answers, you will see that your scores will improve.
Correct.
And that has been an observation for a while now.
Right. So what are your recommendations for next 45 days and the daily things students have to do for IPMAT exam? So could you just give me 3 major recommendations?
3 things, yeah, sure.
And including timeline, including how many hours they should spend on this part.
Now, time is something that they have to take a call for themselves. If you're weak, if you're getting low scores, of course you have to give more time. So I'm not going to talk about how much time you should be giving, but I will surely talk about what is the bare minimum that you should do on an everyday basis. The bare minimum that you should do, point number 1 is solve at least 2 RCs. At least 2. I'm not saying at most, I'm saying at least.
At least 2 RCs.
At least 2 RCs, but then solving 2 RCs is not a job that happens in 15 minutes or 20 minutes. You'll have to give at least 30 minutes for this.
Yes.
That is not because you're answering it in 30 minutes. If you're answering both the RCs in about 20 minutes, you got to give at least 10 minutes to analyze as to what went right and what went wrong. So this is one. Point number 2 is vocabulary. I would say, the vocabulary questions are not really based on, hey, this is the word, what is the meaning?
No.
Vocabulary is all
contextual
word usage. So how do you use a word? So if you're building your vocabulary, I'm pretty sure you've been doing that for a while now. Keep going at it. I understand that you can't really remember all the words that you're learning.
Can you give any quantity and daily basis for them?
Yes. So my suggestion is pick 30 words a day and keep doing that for the next 30 days. I know that they will not remember all of them. Right. But then here with vocabulary, there are 2 things that you can do. One is when you're learning words, look for similarities in words. and these similarities come from roots.
Correct.
So any word, for example, if you open the dictionary, there is a sequence in which it happens. So the first set you see is AB, and you know that AB is away. Now every word that comes from has that root, so you can kind of figure out the patterns. So the more words that you come across, the more acquaintance you have with the words, so the better the recall.
Correct.
It is not possible for you to know all the words, and it is not possible that you will know every word that is there in the paper.
All
So the second is probably look at 30 words every day.
Yes.
And the third is the most important recommendation I have, which is grammar.
Grammar part.
In grammar, we can also share it in the description as to what topics have what weightage.
Absolutely.
But in grammar, my suggestion again is solve anywhere between 30 to 40 or 50 questions every day. And why 50 questions and how 50 questions? Take mixed bag questions, like take grammar questions from anywhere, everywhere, like all topics, and then start solving them. And when you solve them, after every question, you will realize that it has some rule that is guiding it. So imagine if you solve 50 questions every day, they are basically what you're doing is you're coming across anywhere between 15 to 20 or 25 rules every day.
Absolutely.
And just that 25 rules, and you're repeating that over
You're
and
doing
over.
a reverse engineering.
Yeah, you basically come across all rules. English hardly probably, I mean, the major rules that you need to know are probably around 100, 120 rules that you need to know for the exams. So 120 rules being discovered every day, that's enough.
Absolutely. Good. Okay, let me take my view on QA. So for QA, I do suggest for next 45 days, majorly for IPMAT Indore, for our IPMAT Rohtak or Jammu, I see students focus more on arithmetic part,
Absolutely.
commercial mathematics, but they won't focus on pure mathematics. But especially for IPMAT Indore, if somebody wants to get an advantage score, added advantage, a differentiated score, definitely they should focus more on pure mathematics. When it comes to timeline, I would suggest every day it's good to have a practice for one topic from arithmetic, one topic from pure mathematics. They both should go hand on hand.
2 tracks at a time.
2 tracks at a time. Even if you're weak at pure mathematics also, remember one rule very clearly. Let's say from pure mathematics, a paper comes out of 45 questions. If 22 questions are from pure mathematics, what happens out of these 22 questions? Definitely someone can solve 7 to 10 questions with a minimal preparation. We call it the 20-80 rule.
Absolutely.
You prepare 20% and solve 80% of the questions. Here, not exactly 20-80 rule, but if you are good at fundamentals in Rohtak, in Jammu, some to an extent in Indore, you can solve some of the questions. But students are completely leaving pure mathematics. They feel that it's very tough. But I would say geometry, don't prepare till the last level. The last level means higher difficulty level. You can prepare till basic level and intermediate level, leave it.
Can you give me an example as to how that looks like? Now, for example,
let's say I'll take geometry mensuration. In geometry mensuration, we have polygons. The polygons, there are real-time questions in IIM Rohtak. The number of diagonals is equal to 3 times of the number of sides of the convex polygon, regular polygon. You can simply apply the formula and can get the answer.
Right.
Is n into n minus 3 by 2 is equal to 3n. But the point is, students, when they say convex polygon array, this is, it's not my thing. Let me leave it completely. I say if something difficult is given on this line, just leave it.
So
if the difficult means, example, is a one paper, a square paper is cut on the 4 sides, it forms a regular octagon. No, you can leave such questions if you want, but that is also can be solvable.
Yeah. So do you think students who are feeling repelled by quantitative aptitude are being repelled because they look at questions and some words trigger them to say, hey, this is not really great?
Yes.
Do you think then they should possibly just get acquainted with all of these words?
You raise a very good point. Students generally came from commerce background and non-math background, even from math background. If someone thinks that I'm bad at mathematics and they're in that fear that I'm not getting mathematics. But the first challenge I see students who are weak at mathematics, every student is only thinking about, I am not getting the answer. But the problem is not I am not getting the answer. The problem is I am not understanding the question. So let's say that you and I are sitting in the class. Let's say I'm doing mathematical question. You feel that I'm not getting the answer. That's not the point. The point is, first of all, are you understanding the question?
Correct.
If you understand the question, 50% of the problem got solved.
Yes.
Because even if some faculty is taking the class, if they're explaining on the board, he can understand, right, what faculty is telling because he understands the question. So students have to focus more on understanding the question before we started solving the question.
Nice.
Okay? Because a lot of non-math students, they say that I'm very bad at mathematics. That's absolutely fine. But the process is wrong. The way they are preparing for the next 45 days, focus more. If you're weak at mathematics, focus more on understanding the question. And every day, do a mental exercise of taking 5 questions and do a practice of not getting the answer, understanding the question. This I suggest. You raise a very good point, Anish, why students are afraid of mathematics. If this exercise they do for 30 days, they can see some change of calmness and deeper understanding of the question.
True. I think that's also my experience.
Yes.
So just looking at questions, I used to be very. I am still. It's not I used to be.
Weak with. But I can see some change when you're talking to students in jovial way about mathematics. Now this question I can solve because your understanding level has improved.
Exactly, and that's somehow connected to verbal ability as well.
Yes.
Right? So the point is, sometimes these questions are written in a way that it feels they're very difficult, but then you can always tie back them to the basic fundamental concepts.
Correct. So my final recommendations for students preparing for IPMAT, Indore or Rohtak for the next 45 days in the quantitative aptitude part, run 2 parallel tracks. One is arithmetic, second is pure mathematics if you are aspiring for IIM.
So arithmetic and pure math.
Pure mathematics.
And what do you classify under pure math?
Arithmetic, okay, I'll talk about both. Arithmetic is a basic simple equations, ratio, proportion, variations, percentages, profit and loss, averages, mixes, allocations, time and work, time and distance. So all these commercial mathematics comes under arithmetic. The pure mathematics, number systems also, geometry, mensuration, coordinate geometry, trigonometry, indices, surds, logarithms, functions and graphs, inequalities, modulus, special equations. Now, generally students prepare for simple equations, they won't prepare for special equations, but there are questions on special equations in IPMAT Indore, right? All these chunk comes under pure mathematics.
Correct.
Everybody is interested to start the class with the percentages, profit and loss, and they'll use the time preparing for quantitative aptitude.
Yeah, easy to get.
Yeah, but quantitative aptitude 2 sub branches. One is arithmetic, second is pure mathematics. Indore has almost 50% weightage for pure mathematics.
Yeah.
Right. And the one more challenge I see students, they prepare for arithmetic and they prepare very well for arithmetic, but when they see the question from arithmetic, they don't want to leave it even if it is tougher.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of attachment with that chapter. That is only gone away when you're seeing both the tracks equally.
Right.
At this moment, before 15 days of the exam, we will do one more podcast. We'll see what to be focused and what kind of questions to be practiced in the last 15 days. At this moment, it's good to have a focus on both the parallel tracks. In terms of timeline also, I say when you are done with your +2, it's good to have focus more every day 2 to 3 hours of quantitative aptitude classes for itself and another 1 to 2 hours of practice. Every day, 4 to 5 hours of preparation is highly required for quantitative aptitude.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're giving 4 to 5 hours to quant, I would say give at least 1.5 to 2 hours, but for verbal ability, and probably
apart from classes.
Apart from classes, class probably an hour and a half or something like that. But the point is, your VA prep is disaggregated. Like you're not sitting for a stretch of 2-3 hours to prepare for VA. You're sitting for stretches of half an hour, 15 minutes, like that.
It's a good idea when you're planning a day from morning to evening. Let's say for quantitative aptitude, also you can sit for 1 hour blocks or half an hour blocks based on your concentration level. And let's focus on quantitative aptitude classes, at least 2 to 3 hours of classes and at least 2 hours of practice, altogether to 5 hours. When it comes to verbal ability, as Anish
take
mentioned,
about 3 hours, add to that 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yes.
And then take for LRDA, how much would you suggest?
LRDA is one of the easiest section and a lot of people get scores. So they can spend another 1.5 hour of class and 1 hour of practice. So for quantitative aptitude, it is very, very important because we are not telling just out of air. We are telling based on the experience that you are going to write IPMAT Indore, IPMAT Rohtak, IPMAT Jammu. In all these 3 exams, mathematics is there. For IPMAT, Indore score is accepted by so many business schools. It's highly required to get more score, because if you look at reasoning is there in Rohtak and Jammu. But mathematics is a deciding factor. Everybody prepares. Even non-math students also comes with the, I do a lot of score in the reasoning. You do it reasoning, but quant will become your differentiating factor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So all the very best. We will come up with one more podcast in the coming days.
And if you have any questions, anything that you would like to know in particular, feel free to comment.
Yes.
And we will get back to you with that again. Yeah. Thank you very much.
We are happy to help you for the next 45 days also. And we'll come up with so many exciting things. Thank you.